Shalom, shalom. We're going to do a little bit of a butchering today on the little mini homestead, but we have a sheep that we just put down, so it is going to be a little bit more graphic than normal, but I looked for videos of it and there's not too many of it, so I figured we'd try to do it the same way we would do a deer or something like that. And this is our participant, as you can tell. Emma, move away from the sheep. She is completely willing on the cart, ready to go. So we're going to go through the process of butchering and all that good stuff. Try to get a little bit of filming of it. But bless y'all. Girl, we just got her hung up and just cut your two veins on each side of the head. I don't say aorta, I can't remember the name of it, but allowing it to bleed out a little bit before we start cutting her up a little bit more. But yeah, that was the first step. I might miss a couple, but I'm gonna try my hardest to do as much as I can. Off, cut it. It's hard to get through skin, or what you call it, skin with this. So I have to kind of go ahead and pre-cut it, but. Oh yeah. So I'll tell you where we at so far. We ended up cutting around here. There's a tendon that runs in the back right there and right there. I know on deers it does, and goats too. We've skinned a goat a couple times. Not here, but try to cut around it. You don't try not to cut that tendon, because if you do, the whole thing's going to fall down. And then what I did is tried to make a U right here. I'm going to make an incision all the way down to there, and then around her butt kind of thing to cut out that area, and then we should be able to drop all the guts down into the bucket and then wash the carcass, and you should have a pretty clean carcass in the thing. Never skinned a sheep, so I don't know how hard it's going to actually be to get the skin off, but that's so far the process. Alright, so we're bringing on down the rest of the skin. We've got the all the way around. This is my first time, so this is a lot different than a deer. Going around the back. About to bring this whole thing off, and then after that, then we will gut her through there and get all of that out and wash her and clean her up and
call it a day.
Call it a day. There's more flies and more gnats in Georgia right now than I've ever seen before in my life.
Yeah, there's more gnats than skaters.
There might be more gnats than skeeters. But yeah, we're just gonna continue on. But that's just all I'm doing is separating the skin layer. There's always normally a little thin thing of fat right through, all the way around it. Which I will say, most animals are about all the same when it comes to skin, and when it comes like this. I know as far as a deer and a goat is all very similar so far. I haven't seen nothing that's like, whoa, wait a minute, that's different. But I've seen people like where they take and they'll blow it up with a air compressor, and seen where they'll pull it out and stuff like this. I just kind of like to work it, because sometimes you'll end up snatching it too hard and end up ripping up the guts, and then you're in a mess. So just take your time with it. Main thing is when you get into something like this and you don't know, as long as you're going slow and you're watching, you got time to fix it if you do mess something up. So, but yeah. So we got a naked girl. Here she is. She is completely furless or hairless. She's a hair sheep all the way down. We ended up cutting her, last part was there, down to there, cut her down the back, or belly, cut her down the back, and then ended up cutting down each leg to be able to pull everything off and cut the legs off. Now I'm going to end up cutting in here, and then trying to not bust the gut sack that's in here. So if I do, yeah, I'll leave. But yeah, you probably won't turn this part off. About to get nasty. Now this part we just got carcass, so we just ended up gutting her. So this sheep here, a little bit of a backstory. She was feeling a little off. She was not being able to walk much. She's cast, was trying to figure out what was wrong with her. We gave her all the stuff that we should have, and then turned to find out once you actually got into her and opened her up, she actually had a lamb that was, she had 2 lambs, and one of them had busted, and it was very, very small. Now, she shouldn't even be pregnant because she's outside of her cycle, so she, nowhere can she, should she, physiologically should be pregnant, but she ended up, I guess, having 2 that had stayed in there too long, and we didn't know what it was. We thought because she had cast over, because sometimes sheep develop neurological issues because of it, but turned to find out water had busted in one of them internally, and yeah, was able to get all that out. So I'm not going to show you that because that's all gross and nasty, but we got a carcass clean. We're about to end up cutting it. End up cutting down here. I'm going to try to do lamb chops with the it's called mutton instead of sheep, or instead of lamb. And then the shoulders and your flanks and all that good stuff. About to wash it up and start doing it. And I'm going to set it in a cooler and go get some ice and put on it, possibly till tomorrow or this evening sometime, and let it set a little bit, because in a deer, if you let them set a little bit in ice, normally a couple of days, it ends up pulling out some of the game taste to the animal. And I know that mutton has a certain gamey taste to it. They say hair sheep's not as bad, but I'm going to put it on ice to cool the temperature down, and then bring it inside, and then we'll go ahead and quarter it and all that, actually break down what we want and how we're going to actually cook it and that kind of thing. But that is the carcass. So ended up cutting right down the seam and exposed all in here, and then you just kind of keep working it down the the belly of the animal until you get to the bottom. And then at that point, as long as you don't hit the gut sac or the bowels or anything like that, it literally just falls over into the gut bucket, and then it's not as gross and nasty. Especially this isn't as bad as a deer, because when you shoot a deer, you're normally shooting it into the side. So when it does, it's going to blow out something, or something's going to be a little messed up. But this was actually really, really clean, very, very easy to do. But yeah, we're about to clean it up, and then I'll show you some pictures of cutting it and everything else next. All right, so I'm going to take the 2 front, you get your hands or shoulders right here, cut down. This part normally goes pretty quick. You find in that seam, that shoulder blade, and you go in with it so it ain't as hard to deal with. Everything has a seam, as long as you can find it. And there you go. Front shoulder there. Shouldn't take. It does cut a little differently than a deer because of the fat. Right.
I'm gonna back up. I ain't trying to get cut.
Scissor hands over here. Find the seam or just cut the whole thing off, whichever one you want to do. Normally you find the seam that works pretty easy. At that point there, so now I'm going to cut the neck off, and the neck you can use it for stew meat or however kind of thing. Sawzall don't cut the meat very well. There we go. So now, what I've been told is lamb chops, or what you call it, sheep chops, are basically the back strap right in here. So I'm going to leave this part here together. Because normally in a deer you cut out the, what are those things called? Tenderloins, and then the back strap. So I'm going to get rid of some of this because this is just fat. And you can use that for grind meat or something, but this is our first one, so we're still trying to figure out everything. See, one thing I learned is don't name animals. This was my favorite one, and of course, this is the one that dies. Or not dies, but goes down and you have to kill her. So.
She was about to die either way.
Yeah, she didn't have too much in her from the thing, knowing that now. gets through the meat and just fights with the skin, or gets the bone but fights with the skin. There's that side. This side I'm going to be intelligent and nick it. It should go a little bit easier. And I'm pretty sure there's a better way to do this, but this is how we do a deer, and this is what I know. And then we'll cut them up into two sides, so you have two racks of ribs there. But that's little scent glands that's in deer that you need to remove. So do the same thing. Just probably don't want to eat them, kind of thing. So should be able to go right in here, and then right in here. And then that will be your chops right there. Once you cut down the spine, cut them into chops. That is the meat that you would cut in for the chops there. So this, is that an oxtail? You got sheep tail maybe? Oh yeah. Here, I'm going to try to get out the tenderloins. Attempt to, anyways. I don't know if they have them or not. They should. They should have.
I don't look like there's
tenderloins in there. We're going to find out. Sometimes this is the best way to find stuff out, is just try to figure it out yourself and
hope for the best.
You like a piece of meat for supper tonight? Put on this pizza. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's very similar. So there is a sheep tenderloin. That's normally a very, very tender piece of meat.
That's what he said.
Yeah. You go down the bone. And on the other side. Boom. There we go. I don't know if there's a back strap. We'll find out though. No, they ain't much of one if they are. I'm going to keep it though, because I can still use it for something. A stew or something. There's a back strap right there, but it's so thin and tied into that fat. I'm going to turn it off from here, but this is the last two steps. It ain't going to take but a second, but I'm going to cut there. Already cut through there. Cut through here, and cut the two legs off there. And go put it in a cooler and put it over ice, wash it, and see what happens with it. So thank y'all for watching. If you would, subscribe, whatever else you do on YouTube. So bless y'all.
Like, share.
Like, share. But yeah, hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.